Hey, welcome to Rust Revival Garage. This is the beginning of our Will It Start project for the Pontiac LeMans. This is a 1968 and she's been sitting for 23 years through every fault of my own. We'll go into that, but kind of wanted to do an introduction video, walk you around the car a little bit, show you the stuff that I'd already started, and kind of give you an idea of what we still have to come. So let's get to it. This is originally a California car. Bought it back in 1995. Not sure how many owners she had before me, but she was definitely painted. It was originally a light green color, and someone gave it one of the cheap $199 paint jobs, which has since slowly faded away. It's basically a stock car, no power brakes, does have power steering, no air conditioning. It is an automatic. And it did come with the original 350 that had a 2-speed power glide, and it had a 2-barrel carb on it when I bought it. The only major things that I've really done to it are replacing the intake. I bought an Edelbrock Performer intake and replaced it with that, and dropped in a new Holley 4-barrel. And so the reason why it sat for 23 years. What happened was the car overheated once on the way from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, and shortly after that I developed what I thought was a head gasket leak, and I had tons of white smoke pouring out of the exhaust. I was pretty sure I'd basically warped and wiped out one of the head gaskets, and so I drove it straight into the garage in 2000, I'm going to say early 2000, and didn't touch it again. My whole goal was, well, if I'm going to take the heads off, the original heads, and put new ones on, I'm going to put Edelbrock heads on it. And of course the Edelbrock heads are very expensive, a couple $1,000. And so I just let it sit and sit and sit. Then my kids came along and things got away from me. So yeah, it's been in the garage here in Ohio since 2008. As soon as I moved here, I did buy the engine. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to check out the engine teardown video, but I did buy a Pontiac 400 that I was hoping to rebuild and put in here, and that just sat and sat. But now that the kids are grown and heading off to school, figured it was time to get back to the LeMans and see if we can revive it. All right, let's take a look underneath. As you can see, no rust. And if I have to be honest, I have a feeling that that muffler is probably the only thing that's been replaced down there. There's no holes in the floor. The frame is great. One of the other things I did too was actually replace the Powerglide 2-speed with a Turbo Hydromatic 350. Needed to have that third gear, but everything else is pretty much stock. Still the original gearing in the rear end. The shocks and the springs are pretty old on this. Pretty well shot, basically from having to carry me around. The interior is pretty much all original. Pretty much the only problems I've got, there's a slight hole in the seat. Got a little bit of tear on this section of the seat. Door panels are in great shape. And let's see if I can get around over here to show you this one. Yeah, really, really good shape. No power accessories. Does have the manual windows, and it's got my favorite Yankee air conditioning. And the great thing about this car, it only has 27,000 original miles and has not been driven very much. Let's see if we can get in here, get our peepers on that. Not sure if you can make it out, might be a little too dark. But yeah, we're at 26,750 miles. Of course, the gas gauge is still showing 3/4 of a tank, but I have actually replaced that. The pedals, as you can see, seem still really much original in stock, so I do not think at any point this has rolled over to 126,000 miles. Did not come with air conditioning, of course. Just has the regular heater, and that's about it. There was a stereo apparently that came with it, but I did not have it. What I did was actually take a CD player. When I first got it, I had a CD player mounted in here. So I was basically, instead of having to mess up the original dash, I just ran it out to the glove box. See if we've got anything in here. Nope, just a little bit of dirt and some coins. That's about it. But yeah, like I said, all stock, all original, almost 27,000 miles, and that's it. Let's go take a look in the trunk. I always like to use my favorite GM key because it still works. Alright, so yeah, nothing much going on in the trunk. Basically just a couple of wheel and tires that I picked up to make sure I could roll this thing around, because what's on there has been sitting for way too long and won't hold air anymore. But yeah, everything is still nice and clean in here. It's even got the sticker. So what have I done since I started working on it before the channel? Basically, I have put in a brand new gas tank, new sending unit, new straps, and not sure if you can see it, but I basically changed the gear oil that was in there, and what was in there is probably the original gear oil. I would not be surprised. It was pretty nasty inside there, but that's all been swapped out. So we've got new fuel tank, new straps, new sending unit, new gear oil in the back. So here's what happened. Early last year, took the carburetor off and said, okay, we're gonna get started. I'm gonna tear the engine down, replace the head gasket, and whichever one it was, I had no idea. And so what happened was I took the carburetor off, I rebuilt the carburetor. My first time ever doing that. So we'll basically be testing that upcoming episodes to see if I got it right. I took off the intake, started to, basically break everything down so I could replace the head gaskets. When I started to take off the Edelbrock intake, I noticed that it was completely loose. Every single bolt on there was loose. And I had never touched it from the time that I had white smoke blowing out of the back of the car and thought that I had blown the head gasket and I had coolant mixing in. I thought for sure that, again, that the head gaskets were gone. So I just drove it straight into the garage, turned it off, never started it again, never checked the engine, never did anything. And I think what's happened was the intake got loose. The aluminum intake from the overheating, I think the intake got loose, and that was allowing coolant to go down into the engine. And so maybe actually the head gaskets are not bad. We're going to find out. Don't know at this point because I stopped there. I took the intake off, I painted it, basically got everything cleaned up, and then I figured what I'm going to do is put it all back together, see if we can start it up, see if we still have any issues with a head gasket, see if there really is a problem. I've turned the engine over a couple of times. I've gone around and around, a couple of revolutions. Sounds like it still has compression. I'm not seeing any leaks, so I'm thinking we might actually be okay. If it does turn out to be a head gasket, yeah, of course, we'll go ahead and break that down. Also, since we're going to be trying to start it up, basically replace the coil. I did check it, watched a couple of videos on that, checked it. There was not very good readings coming out of the existing coil that was in there. So I bought a new coil, new rotor, and a new cap, new spark plug wires, and I figured I'd stop there. Just, again, before I got too far into it. One of the things I also wanted to do was clean out the cooling system. There was a lot of gunk in there, I noticed, from when I took the intake off. So I basically checked the cooling system, filled it up with water just to see if it held anything, see if there were any leaks, and the radiator was pouring. I mean, it was just running out of the radiator. So the reason why I've got everything sort of taken apart up front here is I need to get a new radiator and drop that in. And I might or might not mess with the water pump. I don't know. Again, I might just see how it goes on startup, see what we need, see if there's any problems. I may hear some issues on that water pump once we get it going, but I figured let's do a startup first. So To make sure we can cool this thing when we do start it up and I can hopefully let it run for a little while, I'm going to make sure I get the cooling system all hooked back up. I'm going to have a radiator on here and a fan, and so that's basically what I need to do now. And plus I need to check the vacuum lines, get everything hooked up, get the accelerator pump hooked up, and get a battery for it. So that's basically where we are right now. Kind of wanted to give you the first in the series of Will It Start, give you a walk around tour, show you all the stuff that I've done and so, before we started the channel, and show you all the stuff that I've still got to do. So hopefully tune in, and we'll see where we can go with this, see if we can get it started for the first time, and see if everything works out, see if we can drive this thing. So please subscribe, and again, first of the series of Will It Start for my 1968 Pontiac LeMans. So please subscribe. If you got anything out of this, like the video, leave me a comment if you saw any issues or saw anything that I missed, or if you just have questions. Thanks very much for tuning in. See you next time.